Well, congratulations. I can tell you're excited. I'm over here behind all these cameras.
Oh.
You can lean back. You can sit back. What was that feeling like? It looked like you were having a lot of fun in there. Did it mean something extra special being here in Utah?
Oh, of course. Yeah, fighting in my home community. I mean, the last time was 2016. I had fought shortly before the card got announced the last 2 times. And one of them I had the neck injury, so I had to get it fixed. But yeah, I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Everything we practiced and trained came out in the fight. So it felt like a practice, just a little more intense. Yeah, a little bit of adversity in my head when I had it. So the rear naked wasn't locked up under his chin. It was pretty close, and I elbow back like a short choke is what I call it. And I switched sides, and I was like just gonna adjust and stay on top and try to land, and I just decided to hammer down and crank on it and got the win, and like, woo. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no words to describe that.
You mentioned kind of feeling like a new man. I know you mentioned the surgery. Was there any more to that? I mean, even just like internally or in your mind that you kind of felt like a new man, or was it just physical?
No, I feel different. I got injured like 5 years ago, and I used a steroid injection to kind of decrease inflammation. And it was like painful, and it was a stinger. You know, you hear fighters talk about getting stingers. It was just like a real bad stinger. And after about 5 or 6 of those injections, they started to wear off. And, you know, I ended up taking a loss. Like I always wanted to fight Matt Brown. I thought it would be just a battle. And I was pumped and I was ready. And I got a steroid injection a couple of like 6 or 8 weeks before I got the fight. And, you know, it's just like, it's one of those fights where I was like, man, I wish I was whole, you know? And I'm not taking anything away from him. You know, he's a reason why he's got the most finishes or whatever in the UFC. It's because he's that guy. He's Matt Brown. That's why I wanted to fight him, you know? But I just feel so good. The confidence is a lot. Like, I have so much more confidence. And I don't know, I feel unstoppable. So taking shots and, you know, my train, like I have a great team, and I have a whole bunch of fighters at Agima Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, and we have people competing. I mean, we have like 140 or 146 fights in the last like 16 or 17 months. And I have so many great teammates and training partners, and they keep me ready, and they ask questions, and some of them are learning and new, and some of them are ready to take a step. You know, some of them are, we have a couple right now that are ready for the Contender Series. And, you know, it's just like, man, I don't know. I just feel good. So,
You know, you mentioned Matt Brown. He reacted to your win. He said he called you the nicest guy in the sport. How does that make you feel?
it makes me feel good.
Is there something more with that, with Matt Brown?
Just another guy that overcame adversity.
Mm-hmm. I know that's really important to you. Is it important to you to continue to talk about that kind of stuff? And
oh yeah, I got an easy forgetter. You know, if I forget how shitty it was when I was homeless and strung out, you know, it can come right back. But I don't drink today. That's my biggest accomplishment in life, is that I didn't drink or use today. Not the big win. I wouldn't have any of this.
What do you see next for yourself?
Well, I'm uninjured, so I can get right back into the gym. So maybe I'll just keep getting better. And then I'll talk to Sean Shelby, and we'll get something going. And I should probably take a little bit of time. I neglect my family responsibilities for 8 to 10 weeks, and puts a lot of pressure on my wife and my 3 boys. You know, it's like they kind of miss out a little bit. So my middle son, his birthday was on Wednesday, and so I missed his birthday. but we're going on our annual father-son birthday fishing trip, which that's what Tim came up and said after. He's like, man, you guys go have a hell of a trip. You know, it's like, when is that going to happen? You know, what a cool guy. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Court right here.
Yep.
I don't know if you, like, when they announced you on this card, you're going up against Tim Means. Like, I think a lot of fans and even reporters were like, oh, this might be Court's last fight. Like, what better way to retire than Salt Lake?
Yeah.
Did you hear that? And were you just like, hey, guys, I feel better than ever. Like, what's all this retirement talk about?
Dude, I've been asked for like probably 5 or 6 years. Like so when I fought Strickland, my beard was huge and I didn't have time to trim it. And I was in between trimmers, like beard trimmers, it broke. And so it was this monster beard. And this dude's like, dude, when are you going to retire? And I was like, I'm like 31 years old, dude. I'm like, I'm not even in my prime yet. What are you talking about? No, I mean, ever since I won the Ultimate Fighter, like, you know, I had a conversation with Dana in the show, and I always was like, I need to have an exit strategy. This could be my last fight. And then I watched people around me, man. I watched people blow their knees out and then not come back. I watched people have a couple of losses and get cut. I watched people like had a hard time making weight and then they were just off on their own. And so I just was kind of like, this is always going to be my last fight, you know, inside. And I thought about that. I had a couple of interviews with some people that I've been doing interviews for 15 years. And, you know, they're like, well, what do you feel like? And I just kept saying I felt good, but like inside, man, I feel like, what do you got to lose? And I'm not going to say I've fought safe, but I've got like 5 hours in that octagon, and there's only maybe 7 or 8, maybe 10 people in the whole world that have that much time in there. And I think I got used to fighting in there, and it translates well with coaching, but feels nice getting out a little early.
So for the record, this wasn't your last fight, because I know people are still going to ask that.
No, it's not my last fight.
Appreciate you.
Court right over here.
Yep.
Such a massive pop from the Utah crowd. Obviously, your first fight here in 8 years. How much did it just mean to you, and how much did it kind of pump you up leading into that fight to just hear from your hometown crowd who loves and adores you so much?
Oh, man. It screwed me up a little bit at the weigh-ins. I got emotional walking out there, and I'm already pretty emotional anyways. But, yeah, walking out to weigh-ins, I was like, oh, keep it together. You know, it's just like, I don't know. It's incredible. And then walking out, you know, people screaming your name, and some of the people that I heard, I knew their voice. I'm like, oh, hey. And then seeing my teammate, Steve Seiler, who had a whole bunch of fights. He's got about 70 fights, and he's fought in the UFC, and just one of my longest training partners. You know, seeing him right after the fight, I don't know, man, it's incredible. And then getting a win like that, it's just, I can't even imagine what my wife and my dad and my 2 sons are thinking.
You know, you talked a little bit about your coaching up there and how many rising stars there are here in Utah. Do you think it's benefited you to be such an active coach while you've been an active fighter as well, specifically for this camp? You've been cornering once, twice, every single month over the past couple of years.
It does. It gives me an outside perspective, and I've always enjoyed coaching, primarily wrestling, but I love teaching. I love teaching jiu-jitsu. I love teaching striking. I absolutely love my students, whether they're first day in there or they're, you know, a competitor. I think it does give me a better perspective and outlook. Like, hey, listen, you know, I don't know, seeing that outside perspective, I think it's really good. I think it has been beneficial. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Talk to me about that neck crank. It looked like the power on it, didn't even fully get under his thing. Is that something? Could you generate more power now that you're feeling fully healed in your neck? Do you generate more power now, or is that just a really strong move for you?
Well, so I call it a short choke, and usually it doesn't get under the chin. Sometimes you can get to the chin, and then you'll lift your elbow and then slide and reattack on the other side. But I was losing his hip, and so when I sat through to the other side and I locked that on, I kind of hesitated for a second and was like, do I just bail on this because I didn't want him to short sit me and me lose his hip and then have to scramble at the top. And I just decided to bear down on it. And I got Chris McRae with that, and I got Brad Tavares with that. Brad Tavares was under the chin, but that's a short choke, and it's just a submission that I've done for years. But yeah, I went for it and I was like, I'm not going to let go till his head pops off. So, yeah.
It looked very effective. In fact, he was grabbing and sort of rubbing his neck immediately after it. Right at the time, I think you came over to kind of pat him on the back of the neck afterwards.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. Did you feel any extra pressure coming in with, granted the losses have been over years, but did you feel, a lot of people when they see like 3 in a row, they think they automatically think this might be it. Did you feel any of that pressure coming into that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely felt that pressure. But I tried to put it in the back of my mind so it didn't block me from doing what I needed to do. I mean, there's always pressure, especially after a loss or 2 losses. I feel like the last loss that I had, it was a really close loss, and that kid was game. He was, but I got a lot from that last fight, Alex Morano. And, I went out pretty tentative because I'd been stopped in the first round twice. And so after that first round was over, I was like, hey, I'm in this, and then the third round was like, okay, I'm back at it. And so after, getting a loss sucks. It's horrible, but I was like, man, I feel good. I feel good with this. Okay, I can work with this. And so I just kind of progressed and didn't have to take time off. I got right back in the gym and was, and just, yeah. And I feel good. I feel fast. I feel like I can exchange. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, looked great. In fact, our work chat was saying that we thought you looked the best that you've looked in quite some time.
Dude, I feel good, man.
Yeah. Well, I know you want to spend some time with the family, but like you said, motivate. Your momentum's working for you right now. How long do you give yourself before you hop back in the gym and start trying to get that next fight?
Well, I'll be back in the gym this week. I coach and teach, and me and my business partner Dane Aristizabal and his wife Amy, we coach all week long. So I have like a jiu-jitsu class and I have striking class, and so I'll be back in there probably this week. I got to take my son on our annual father-son birthday fishing trip, so we got to designate a location. But outside of that, I'll be back in the gym. And my son has preseason nationals in Iowa on the 25th and 26th. So I want to get in and get him some matches and get him some time and help him get prepared to go out and kick some butt in Iowa.
It's a busy schedule you got there.
Yeah.
Congrats on the victory.
Thank you.
Court, right over here, man. This was your first submission victory since 2010. A big victory. Talk to me about the confidence that a performance, a victory like that brings to you. Obviously, you hadn't pulled one of those off in a while. You got it done tonight. What's the confidence building like?
Man, it changes the mental game, like committing to a submission. I've had a couple of submissions on somebody and let them go to get position, and then tried to land shots to open up another submission. But I don't know, tonight I just went for it. I had it, and it wasn't on technically great, but I figured, hey, let's go for it. There's got to be under a minute or a minute and a half left, and just give it hell. I can recover from that. So, a big confidence builder.
And like they said earlier, you put an end to a tough stretch in your career tonight. And losing is obviously never an option, but it certainly wasn't tonight. What did you have to overcome other than Tim Means to get the victory tonight?
Just putting it out of my mind, the what ifs. What if I lose? Or what if this happens? What if this happens? I just stopped with that. I focused on right now and what the next thing I needed to do was, and I was able to put that together tonight and do that.
I'll give you an easy one. You looked like you were really on your front foot, confident. You mentioned, and we've talked in the past about how you don't really watch a lot of film on your opponents. You're familiar with Tim Means,
yeah.
But what was the game plan that these guys kind of had prepared for you going in? Because it did seem like you were kind of on your front foot there.
Well, so he's a southpaw, staying outside of that lead leg, his right leg, landing shots down the center. And then just a few things that he's good at being prepared to counter those things, and then lots and lots of footwork, because he's tall and he's got nasty knees and a good clinch. And then if we got inside, working a takedown, get into a position where I can get on top, and then do some damage on top and open up a submission, which is exactly what happened. So the game plan that I followed it worked out great. Did Carla win? Shit. Oh, split?
No,
Okay.
unanimous.
Oh, he's unanimous. Okay.
But it was close.
Awesome. Great fight. Okay, back to it. Right here.
Oh, it works. As a kid from Ogden, Utah, I mean, I know you alluded to, the crowd, and you can hear the people cheering for you. A lot of these fighters, and really the UFC, has only been here for the third time, but how crazy is it that the UFC is in Utah, where you once called home? Because this place has just grown so much. So what are you telling people about this place? And also, like, just how cool is it to see your world here?
Oh, they came in 2016 and they had a small card. And I remember I had talked to Dana, and I had talked to, it was Joe Silva. And Joe was like, hey, let's get a card together. And I'm like, hey, we got Steve Seiler, we got Ramsey Nijem, we got Brock Jardine, and Sean O'Connell. We could put a badass card together. And they were like, okay, yeah, I think it's a good idea. We're going to do it on Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday fight night. And I'm like, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. They didn't end up doing that. And then they postponed, and then they ended up having the card that they had. I don't know. It means so much. We have such a great fight community that, and I'm not going to say it's a problem, but our community, I believe, is humble. I mean, we have a heavily religious community, and even if you're a star athlete, it's like the humility that the state has. So it's not like a big thing, but I mean, jiu-jitsu started in Provo, Utah, and Southern California in the late 80s. It's like we have a solid jiu-jitsu community. We have a ton of black belts. We have a great boxing community. We have tons and tons of fighters. Our gyms are starting to work together and combine, and we're getting people. We have quite a few on the cusp of making it. It's just, it's a great fight community. And then finally, kind of getting, state officials and, getting some of your local politicians, and then, together, and boom. I mean, you put together these tonight's going to be outrageous, but the last two cards have been just outrageous. So yeah, it's great.
Court, I couldn't help but notice after you were talking, I think when you were finished talking with Joe in the ring, you looked up in the crowd like you were looking for someone. Were you looking for your family there?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, I was looking. Yeah, my dad, my wife, and my son Isaac and crew were out there. So I was looking for him, but I couldn't see him.
I was gonna say, did you end up finding them? Or
No.
You weren't wearing your glasses, obviously.
No. So it was a giant blur. I saw Steve Seiler when I walked out, though. Yeah.
What do you hope? I mean, I'll just ask about your boys that were in the crowd. What do you hope your boys saw tonight out of you?
Just grit and determination. They know my first fight in the UFC was 2 weeks after Crew was born, and he just had his 14th birthday. So I guess in January it was 14 years since I was on The Ultimate Fighter. And I think that was like my 27th fight with the 4 fights in the house. I don't know. It's incredible. I don't know what I would think. It's kind of nuts because I'm just dad. I love coaching my son's high school wrestling team. I absolutely love influencing and being a role model and an example to that age, because I had such a challenge at that age. Like wrestling really helped me. I had my high school wrestling coach marry my wife and I, officiate my wedding. And then during this camp, I officiated one of my wrestlers' wedding. So it's like, just hope they're proud of me.
Court, back here in the middle. I know the Salt Lake City recovery community is very important to you. Do you have something you'd like to say to them?
Oh, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle.
Thank you.
Yep.